Well, hello and welcome to another trading day right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. See, the markets are open, but starting with oil prices, they're up today with market participants expecting demand to rise in the world. Beijing announced a looser monetary policy to stimulate economic growth in China. We'll see the impact there in the market. Over about 0.5% rise there for Brent, $72.55 a barrel. WTI US crude there, not left out, same range there, 0.5% up, $68.95. That's a trade this morning. Let's get a check on the Naira now. It looks like the Naira is back again, gaining. That's for NFM, 1,525 Naira. That was a close for yesterday, 0.89%, almost 1%. So I guess we could say maybe this week might play out like the way we saw last week. And NAFEX, 1,547 Naira, 0.33% down. Flip side, yesterday it was NFM that lost and NAFEX gained, but we're seeing a flip this for the last trade yesterday. So other stories now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has denied claims of selling Forex to BDC operators at 1,301 Naira per dollar. In a post on X, the CBN clarified that the purported circular did not originate from the bank and describes it as misleading. The fake document alleged that $20,000 would be sold to each BDC at 1,301 Naira per dollar, with a directive for BDCs to sell to end users at 1% margin. It also outlines payment procedures and listed specific CBN branches for disbursement. The CBN has labeled the information as false and misleading, emphasizing that on September the 6th, it approved FX sales to BDCs at a rate of 1,580 Naira per dollar. And Nigeria has further strengthened its position in the global energy sector with the appointment of Mr. Ademola Adeyemi Bero, chairman of the OPEC Board of Governors. Before he was appointed, the chairman of the OPEC Board of Governors, Adeyemi Bero, was confirmed as Nigeria's OPEC governor for the year 2025. So a lot happening in that OPEC space at this time. All right, to other matters now. We see Nigeria, with its abundant sunshine, presents a significant opportunity for solar energy adoption. Right now, we're going to explore the current trends shaping Nigeria's solar energy industry, examining factors driving its growth and analyze the impact of innovative business models and government initiatives on its widespread adoption. Joining us for this conversation now, we have Mr. Ernest Akinlola, the Managing Director of Debunks Nigeria, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, so quite a lot happening, at this time. 2024 has been quite the year. We had PMS prices reach levels we've not seen before.
Yep.
We've seen Band A users struggling under heavy tariffs. And I remember there was a time, people would run their generators all night.
Yep.
If there was no power supply, but things have changed. Talk to me about the trends.
A lot.
In the solar industry so far.
A lot. I mean, I think you talk about the trends that's happening. I mean, I've been in this business now for about 4 years, and I remember what it was like when we came in, when we launched Bbox in 2020. And, it was rather nascent and nobody really, the business was there, but it wasn't really exploding. But the PMS has been the challenges. So there's been a pull and a push, right? So the PMS has been very much, the PMS price is petrol. For those that don't know, the PMS, petrol prices have gone up over 300%, right? That's then created a pull for alternative energy sources. So solar has always been there as a solution, but then that's been a catalyst for people wanting to find out. And then on the push side, there's been a lot more developers in the market, such as Bbox, and there's many others, pushing the narrative, understanding that there's a whole ecosystem here. And this is one of the earliest industries. It's almost like almost as untapped as insurance, right? Very low penetration. So there's a lot of space to cover in this industry.
Right, and I can imagine you did say solar has been around for the longest time, but I remember there was a time, a whole package. I was pitched about 400,000 Naira to get panels, to get the inverter, and all of that. But that is not the case right now. It's so expensive.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
getting it. So at the end of the day, it's supposed to be the alternative, but it's, you know, getting that first installation and all of that.
You need to look, when you talk about solar renewable energy,
Right.
there's different segments of the market, right? So if you're looking at more productive use or larger homes, so where you buy the KVA, like the solar inverters, right? Yes, they're more expensive, of course. They're actually more expensive than 400,000. But the payback,
No, I'm saying before.
Yeah, before.
Before that time, the naira was like maybe trading about 300.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, to the dollar then.
Yeah, exactly. But despite that, what you have to do is you have to do a comparative to if you're running your gen all night, right? So the payback is quicker on solar, and actually the offset is still better on the long term on solar, plus the environmental benefits, the lack of noise, you know. So when you balance the two out, despite the increase in prices, it's still more effective going solar, and everybody's going through solar. I was talking to an architect who's got large development in Ikoyi, and he told me that he has gen, NEPA, his solar inverter, he's got many panels, and he said he's forgotten how to switch on his gen because he uses his solar. You know, so, I mean, that's just the impact it's having. And there's other segments as well. You know, there's the rural segment, which we are very strong in, but we're moving into other commerce and industry, productive use for MSMEs. It's very big, very important for driving our economy.
Right, and talking about, you know, adoption, you know, at the end of the day, when you have 133 million multi-dimensionally poor, talk to me about adoption with low-income earners.
Yeah, so, you know, when you're talking about that part of the segment, you find that a lot of developers such as Bbox are focusing on the rural sectors. I mean, I always tell my friends and colleagues that all of us that live in Lagos, that we know each other, we're not really Nigerians. We're not the real Nigeria. If you want to go to the real Nigeria, go to Offa, go to Bomosho, go to the deep parts of Nigeria. And so what you're finding there is that we have agents that go into the markets. We sell to people selling pepper, tomatoes, artisans, and they're much more knowledgeable about it now. They will discuss with you about, oh, is that a lithium battery or is it lead acid? We don't want lead acid. They understand. They can converse with us. They're knowledgeable. They've done their research. They bring out their calculators. They calculate whether they're going to pay over 6 months, 12 months, or upfront, you know, because we offer those sorts of pay as you go. So all of this is driving more awareness and adoption. Right. And of course, one of the big factors is somebody sets up a TV. So we sell packages, right? So we sell the inverter, the panels, as well as the appliances. So there's an element of social mobility, so TVs or fans. So somebody then says, oh, wow, you've got this in your home. It then becomes an automatic referral engine for others. So there's a real wave behind this.
Right. All right, talk to me about, you know, technology now, how much it's playing, you know, in this industry. I was watching a documentary a couple of days ago, and some scientists have found a way to use diamonds to make batteries. And I'm like, oh, that's quite interesting. But, you know, if they're using diamonds to make batteries, that means, and we know what they say about diamonds. Diamonds are forever. That means there's batteries. So talk to me about technological advancements.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know about the diamond side, but I know that there's something about, there's a narrative being pushed around magnets. So these opposite magnets are having it, and then it creates energy, but that's a different slide. But in terms of how technology is driving adoption in Nigeria, we look at it from a point of view of customer enablement. How do we make it easier for customers to adopt solar and to pay for their solar in a seamless way? So, for instance, at Bbox, we've developed with some banks seamless virtual wallets so that a customer who might not be on our bank can make payments from their bank or from their phone directly to their account, right? So that's one key thing for them. The other one is, and so technology enables that. In the early days, agents had to go and collect money from the customers. And, you know, there's all sorts of issues that come with agents collecting money, right? So there's that dimension. There's also the dimension of when you buy something and you're using your solar, you have to make your payment. You're given a certain amount of what we call light-in time, right? Because you're on pay-go. If you don't pay, you then get switched off. So customers like to know, when is my balance dropping? So that balance check, that notification, again, it's low-level technology, but it's very important. Not everybody has AI. If you talk about the 130 million population, they don't know about AI. They don't know about all these apps, right? So you have to dimension your technology to your segment, right? So that's enabling it. And then finally, you have our agents who have the apps. They have our agent apps, and that enables them to understand when they need to intervene with customers. So the combination of all of that, I mean, there's no silver bullet here, but the combination effect is driving increased adoption, because nobody wants to buy something and be hassled having to pay for it. They want it to be seamless.
Right.
Yeah.
And, these days, we've seen people, try to, find ways to handle, high tariffs and all of that.
Yeah.
Bypassing, which is terrible.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We know that's a big. So I believe solar is, helping, with that. But talk to me about investments now in this sector.
Yeah.
How would you describe investments in, say, 2024? Do we see more investors, piling cash into the industry?
Yeah. Okay. So 2024, 2023, 24. Has been a very challenging year. We've had the FX challenge. I saw you just mentioned about if only it was 1,000, only it was 1,300. Yeah, comeback. Yeah, but so that's been a challenge. So, but for our industry, one of the key catalysts, if you like, is subsidy funding from like the World Bank and the Rural Electrification Agency, and their impact has been mammoth. I mean, it's been seismic in terms of helping. The industry would have existed, it would have been growing at a very slow, unpredictable pace, but they've been a real catalyst for that. So because of that, we're seeing a lot of interest in investing in Nigeria in the solar and renewable energy space. Now, there's different segments. You've got solar home systems, which is the rural community that I mentioned. You have productive use, I mentioned before about MSMEs. Then you also have C&I, commerce and industry. So you've got large, we know petrol stations are getting their forecourts covered in solar panels, right? So there's a lot of commercial investment, factories that are converting to solar. They can never go 100% solar, but it's all about offset, right? So there are growing opportunities, and there are grants available for each of those segments. That's encouraging more investment in Nigeria.
And looking at most of these panels, most of these items are imported, and we've seen the impact on volatility with the currency, how that drives up the prices of most of. So what are we seeing when it comes to manufacturing here?
Okay,
panels and all of that.
This is a very, very good point. And we talk about it a lot, me and my colleagues and other CEOs, and we talk about manufacturing, even on RIAN, the Rural Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, which we're a part of, encourage manufacturing. So there are elements of manufacturing in Nigeria, mainly around the accessories and the panels. Right, so the panels are probably the key thing. I mean, I'm very glad that you're showing that on the screen here. The panels are if you like, this is the eye of the sun. This is what brings in the sun. And, importing them is very expensive, right? We have to pay high duties. We've lobbied to get lower taxes on those and lower duties on them. But the way around that is and that's happening in Nigeria. It's nascent. There are certain companies that are focusing on that. We've already started having those conversations with them. But the key thing to identify is the units are very high spec, and the panels have to be properly dimensioned to the units. So if something's a 480 watt panel, it must be that, right? So we're getting there, and I think that's going to be a real accelerant to accepting solar.
All right, so going into 2025, what are you seeing for this industry?
Oh, well, I'm extremely excited about 2025, right? Particularly for Nigeria, because there's a new grant starting. In fact, next week in Abuja, we're going to have a second kickoff roundtable meeting with the World Bank and Rural Electrification Agency. There's $750 million earmarked for solar energy in Nigeria across the different segments that I've mentioned. And we can't wait to get started. Right, so I see 2025 a year of improved installations, also focusing on more of the rural hinterlands, the hard-to-get-to places. The whole program is dimensioned to give a higher subsidy the further out you go. So the more, if you like, urbanized you are, the less subsidy you get. So it's dimensioned that way to enhance, the 133 million really being touched.
Right. We're trying to save that. We're trying to reduce that.
Exactly.
Number.
We need to crunch it down.
Crunch it down
Absolutely.
as much as we can. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So that's 2025 is a great year.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. It was great having you, Mr. Ernest.
Thank you very much.
Akinlola is the Managing Director of Debunks, Nigeria.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on today. Bye. All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, more conversations about not renewables at this time, more of the dirty alternatives. That's at the moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Well, the Group Managing Director and CEO of Matrix Energy Group, Mr. Abdulkader Adisa, has identified 3 derivatives from the policy of government to remove subsidy on PMS. Mr. Adisa spoke to Channels TV exclusively, says the decision by President Bola Tinubu has helped to stabilize the downstream sector and has ensured the full implementation of the petroleum industry law. He had the conversation with energy correspondent Olu Phillips, but you can get the full interview of Channel's YouTube handle. Take a listen.
The industry that you know today in Nigeria, 2024, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, just a little over a year, what would you say if you look very critically at the changes or the outplays of the industry in the last 1 year? What are the 3 most critical things that stand out for you for the industry, whether be it at the upstream level or at the downstream, as regards energy security and energy sufficiency?
Thank you. In the last 1 year, I think, let me put it back, the beginning of this administration, the first thing Mr. President did was to announce subsidy removal. And this is the best thing that has happened to the industry. Myself, I was a banker, and 20 years ago, precisely 20 and a half years ago, I took a step as a banker then that what would the industry be? The then administration, the president, former president Olusegun Obasanjo, made effort to remove subsidy and also to open the market. And what does that mean? To open the market for private sectors to come in and replace the public sector. You know, most of the major marketers then, they all belongs to government, and it was under his administration that government divested from the so-called AP, the so-called national oil and all the rest. And this is why I came into the industry. I left banking as a corporate finance person, as a corporate banker, and where the 3 banks I worked, I was in the oil and gas sector. And why I left is because I saw that there is a huge opportunity for us to come in and take over the public sector. And today, that promise has become a reality. So the first thing the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did is to remove subsidy. This is the best thing that has happened to this country. And this is a step that ordinarily these are things that no president will ever do it, except maybe IMF or World Bank or all these multilateral lending agencies will force them to do it. And he did it. We thank God that it's turning out to be a blessing for the country. And the second thing I will also talk about is that the president also ensured that PIA that was passed into law is being fully implemented. And today you can see that for the first time, you see that the production has gone up to a level that is even above what OPEC is asking us to produce. And the third thing I can also see, This is the first time that in a long time that we're in November, that there's no panic buying in the country. The product is readily available. And this is the first time you also see that the price of petroleum products is actually going down as against going up. Most especially that the fear that people have that when subsidy is removed, that the price will go to a level that people will not be able to afford. And I think these three things have reshaped the industry. And you can see that there's a lot of stability now. And people confidence level is high. Nobody is rushing to the station to do panic buying. And I think this is something that it is due to the kind of leaders that we have, that they know how to implement what they feel is good for the country and is good for the we that are in the private sector, and also that what is good for the economy in general.
Knowledge base wise, in terms of understanding the industry, having covered it in a bit, I may sit here and agree with you on some of the sectoral reforms, but that does not also suffice the same thinking and manifestations out there in public. And we also speak very strongly for the public with what we do as journalists. Whilst you say that this is a brilliant decision that has been taken by the government, I know you must have seen it from two angles: political will, political decisions, and also what exactly is important for, needful for the industry. But that's not, I think, exactly what the public is saying. When you say subsidy removal is good, when subsidy was removed, fuel was about the price of 100 and something naira to the liter. Today is over 8,000 and some fractions. Where's the goodness for someone who does not understand the metrics and system operations of some of the things that has happened? Isn't that a blunted decision that appears not to have taken into consideration people's welfare?
So if you ask so many people now, I don't think a lot of people remember they were buying fuel for 100 or 200 or 300 naira. The most important, there are two critical things. You know, when you have a country, that is when you talk of the people. And if you are from Sudan or you are from some other countries, then you feel what we are talking about. The most important thing is for us to ensure that there is stability in our economy. When there's no stability, then you don't talk of the people. You know that government, they've been throwing all their resources to fill in the gap of subsidy. Subsidy is not good for anyone. Nigerians are hardworking people. Nigerians don't really need subsidy. What Nigeria wants is sustainability. Nigeria wants something that will prosper their economy. We are hardworking people, and we are also proud people. It is not in our culture, or it is not in us for us to beg. Nigerians prefer them to see what they can buy. And subsidy comes with a lot of challenges. Even anybody you ask on the street, they will tell you they don't want subsidy. Yes, what people want is they should be able to get the product at an affordable price. And I think this is what you have seen. And the most important thing is that we need infrastructure more than subsidy. If you look at the population, or if you look at the numbers of vehicles on the street and our population of 200 million people, I have many cars. Do I really need subsidy? No. You have many cars. At least you will have 2 cars. Do you really need subsidy? No. The people that actually need the subsidy, they don't even have vehicles. And government is subsidizing. It shouldn't be. The kind of cars we ride, do we need to buy fuel at a subsidized rate? The most important thing is that you can see that the government debt is going down. If you listen to some of your journalists, some of the pressmen, last year, maybe 2 years ago, they were all saying the resources of government, 98% or 99% of it are going into debt servicing. But now, the last time I checked is about 55-60%. And I think this is what we should think
What's the
about.
relationship?
Of course, the subsidy is not sustainable. Government cannot afford it. What government is doing is to pile up debts, keep borrowing in order to keep subsidy. Paying subsidy of 7 trillion is not sustainable.
And that was our energy correspondent there, Olu Phillips, with an exclusive interview with the Group Managing Director and CEO Matrix Energy Group, Mr. Abdul Kadir Adisa. You can catch the whole thing on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, check for Channels Television, and click on our videos, and you can watch that full interview. Well, the markets are trading on right now. Yesterday, we got that green close. Yeah, we know it's the market has been going. Starts negative, then ends up in the green. 0.10%, up 98,206 points. That was close for yesterday. Let's look at the trading activity, see the investor sentiment there. So it was kind of subdued, looking at value and deals, but had more volume compared to the previous trade. 115.44%, up 939 million units traded. Let's look at sectoral performance. Most of the that's banking. Again, banking down, insurance in the green. That's been the trend these days. We see financial services playing in different quarters there. But insurance has been quite bullish, 1.98% for the close yesterday. Industrial goods down by 0.84% to close. Consumer goods, 0.17%. Oil and gas, a big 1.64% uptick. For the top trades, we see WAPIC, that's 457 million units traded. That topped the trade by volume. Sterling NG 138.43 million, has Japol Gold there on that counter, 30.35 million. So the markets are open now. I will give you a sense of what to expect and today. That's on Business Incorporated at 1 p.m. and other global markets that we track. Thank you so much for watching. That's it from me on Business Morning. I hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team.